introduce yourself and then share your personal story about the incident involving the reckless driver?
Okay, yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity. Hello, my name is Victor H. Royer, but most people know me as Vegas Vic. On December 18th, 1965, when I was 10 and a half years old, I was run over by a drunk driver while I was on the sidewalk in front of my school. I was nowhere near the road. The sidewalk was pretty wide, about at least 8 or 10 feet, and I figured I was about 5 feet away from the curb in the road. So I was nowhere near where any car should have been. There were other kids there as well, and we were waiting for lunch. It was just before 12 noon. I was a child, so I was crouching down, squatting, and playing with something in front of me. Then I heard a commotion, and I turned my head just in time for the front fender of the vehicle to hit me square in the face, knock me over underneath the vehicle, drag me over into the street, run over me with both wheels, front and back, across the lower left abdomen of my body, crushing the lower left abdomen soft tissue, crushing my left hip and upper femur, smashing my face, cracking my skull, and leaving me crumpled in the middle of the road. And the driver never stopped. He kept on driving. There were other parents around there at the time because we were waiting for lunch, and they chased the driver down at the end of the street and stopped him. If it hadn't been for them, he would have just kept on going. Now, I spent 2.5 years in the hospital being reconstructed. That driver was eventually sentenced to 9 months in prison. Just 9 months. I was sentenced to 2.5 years in the hospital, 6 months of which were spent in a coma. I underwent multiple surgeries, and I have been a cripple ever since. So that driver spent 9 months in prison. I spent 2.5 years in the hospital, and I was sentenced to a lifetime as a cripple. Today, I am terminally ill, and the illness that causes me all of these problems and the incredible pain that I suffer is a direct result of what that driver did to me. And I am saying this message because I want to support legislation which provides for tougher penalties for drunk drivers that cause this kind of damage and mayhem, especially for children. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't play in the street. I wasn't chasing a ball. I didn't jump off somewhere into a shallow water or anything like that. I didn't do anything wrong at all. I was on the sidewalk in front of my school where I should have been. And that driver mounted the sidewalk into the group of kids and did this to me. And that's why I want to tell my story, because this is happening every day, including today. Not just in this city and this state, but everywhere else. And it doesn't matter where it happens, because the people that suffer from it, like me, are sentenced to a lifetime of problems. And the perpetrators are often sentenced to just a short stint in jail, if that. And that's why I reached out to the Castroverde law firm and asked them to let me tell the story. And that's my story.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing it again. So what were your initial thoughts and emotions when you learned about Rex's Law via our newsletter?
I received the newsletter from your firm, and it sparked in me the memory of the nightmare that I have faced, and which I have faced ever since on a daily basis. And I wanted to tell my story because I wanted to support the legislation which calls for tougher penalties for people that cause this kind of crime and this kind of mayhem. Because it is the victim that suffers, people like me. I am still alive, but most of my life, all of my life, for the last 58 years I've spent in agony. And as I'm getting older now, it's even more so. Life for me is not pleasant. The person that perpetrated a crime against me is long since dead, but what bothers me is that he just got 9 months in prison, and I got nothing. Nothing, not a penny, no compensation. And he just got 9 months. I spent 2.5 years in the hospital with plaster up to my chin, pins out of my body, strung up on metal weights. I underwent multiple surgeries, and to this day, the injuries that I have are still causing me enormous pain. And that's why I reached out, because I wanted to tell my story so that others don't have to suffer like I did. And that's why I reached out to you.
Thank you, Victor. And what message would you like to convey to others that may have shared a similar story or experience as you have?
What I would like to make sure is that if you have similar experiences like I have, reach out. Find a voice. If you don't know where to go, call this firm, call your firm, reach out to your firm. Even if they can't help you, or if you want to go somewhere else, they'll give you a chance to direct you somewhere else. Or if you have some other means, if any way that you can find a voice to reach out and tell your story, try to do that, because it's important that other people know what is happening to you, because I'm not the only one, and I will not remain the only one. This is happening all the time, and it's time that we did something about it, that we let our legislators know that crime has victims, and that sometimes these victims spend a lifetime in agony and an early death because of what was done to them through no fault of their own. So take the time, find out, call this firm, call whoever represents you, reach out, tell your story. You have a voice, use it.
And do you have any specific hopes or expectations for the implementation and enforcement of Rex's law?
Yes, I do. I hope that victims will be properly compensated. I hope that criminals will be sufficiently punished. And I hope that prosecutors and legislators will not allow those who have the means to escape their punishment. I think it's time that we equaled the field. I think it's time that people paid attention to the victims of these crimes. People like me, because we live with this every day of our lives. That becomes our life. Through no fault of our own, we are the ones that have to live with it. So I think that the perpetrators need to be sufficiently punished and the victims sufficiently compensated. And that's the only way to do it, and that's why I reached out in support of this law.
Okay.
Is that
Yeah.
good?
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.